Kids, let's talk about the differences between men and women. I can't believe I'm making this video because I've spent 90% of my life saying that there really isn't that big of a difference between men and women, and I still do believe that. Well, to an extent. I think there are minor differences between men and women. I'm not sure to the extent of which they're socialized or which they're innate or which they're a combination of the two. This communicative difference that I want to talk about today is most likely socialized. Also, just a quick disclaimer. When I say men and women, I'm referring to something more binary. I will not be getting into the complications of more modern, complex systems of gender, but rather a more basic, traditional look at communicative differences between what most of society considers to be men and women. For example, when I use the word woman, I will be referring to a female who has been raised and treated and perceived as someone who fulfills a certain role in society, female, and vice versa. It's not a new idea that there are some communicative differences between men and women. Comedians have been kind of beating that dead horse into the ground for years. The main source of tension between men and women that's noted upon is a man's inability to understand a woman's emotions, to understand why women are upset with them, or to understand that they're upset with them in the first place. The whole I'm fine line or the silent treatment falls into this tension, as well as anything that revolves around a woman not stating her emotions directly. Well, no, I guess I haven't, but I'm an extremely blunt outlier. But I still have lots of experience with women not saying what they mean. And I've always been able to at least understand, for the most part, what they're really getting at, unlike a lot of the men around me. I'm assuming that this is because, as a woman, in the loosest sense of the word, I have a wider range of focus and more experience reading subtext and body language because that's how I was raised to communicate. I'll get more into this later, but first I want to talk about what this communicative difference looks like when it's played out in conversation. So if women are better at picking up on social cues, especially from other women, and are socialized to be less assertive, that's a lot different from how your typical man is raised. And your typical man isn't going to understand the subtext and body language unless it's really, really obvious, which will leave your typical woman feeling like he doesn't actually care about her. When in reality, he's just been raised differently, and he's just used to expressing his anger and sadness differently than she is, probably because of the examples swaying from our parents and the environment we've been receiving ever since we were babies. To expand on this a little bit, this isn't just an issue strictly between men and women. I think in general, we're constantly watching and trying to interpret what other people are thinking and feeling and not saying, specifically people that we care about. So, in a twisted subconscious way, it seems rational to assume that people we love would do the same for us, that people we love would always be tracking, like, what is she doing with her hands? Is she actually fine when she says I'm fine? Stuff like that. The problem is this creates a big communicative mess because no one really knows what anyone else is thinking ever because everybody's dumb. I mean, at the most, sometimes people are half right, but it's always going to be a little bit more complicated than you think it is, or a little less complicated than you think it is. Okay, I've pitched my argument, but I feel like I should say that this is all speculation and not actually hard science, so take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm not even completely sure what point I'm trying to make. I felt like this was important because I watch stuff like this happen all the time, especially from married men and women. Is a woman, I can see that she's doing it. I can see that she's telling him that she's upset with him. I can't tell why she's upset because I'm not a genius and I don't have a magnifying glass in their relationship, and I just see him walk away completely oblivious that she's upset. And then when he does figure it out, and then like I'm not trying to blame this on women. I'm not trying to blame this on anybody. I think this is just a thing that people do. Okay, this is kind of a mess of thoughts now. I don't have an outro. I'm gonna go jerk off.